I understand this is your first EV. So
Yes.
welcome to the club.
Yes, yeah,
And
first
you know,
EV.
I'm proud of you for making the leap. Well, Kent, you didn't tell me you were a 2 EV family, and you know.
Yes, this is our second EV.
Why don't we go and I want to hear about that. How was your? Oh, look at that! See that? Beautiful, right? Rear traffic cross alert. Had we been in a Tesla, that golf cart might have been toast. Welcome to another episode of Out of Spec Dave, where today I find myself in Fort Myers, Florida, on a gorgeous, gorgeous day. This is the way it should be in Florida. Not 19 degrees or 37 degrees, but today it's in the mid 70s. We got a nice little breeze going on. And you know, what's very interesting to me is my new friend Kent McVety reached out to me and he said, Dave, I've been watching all your videos and watching Kyle's videos, and I understand you're going to be down in Florida for the holiday week. Why don't you come by, and I'd love to meet you, and maybe I could tell you a little bit about my EV journey. And I said, sure, I'd love to do that. And especially because he's got an IONIQ 5, one of my favorite cars. So let's get into this, folks. Let's meet Kent and find out his story with respect to electric vehicles, because I think it's going to be a real interesting one for a lot of you folks. So here is the IONIQ 5, and here is Kent. Kent, thank you so much for coming on an episode of Out of Spec Dave. How's it going today?
Just fine. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about your car, Kent.
Well, my wife and I bought this IONIQ 5 last April, and it's the SEL. We wanted the Limited, but unfortunately we could not find one anywhere. It's the rear-wheel drive version, has a single motor in the rear. The EPA estimated range is supposed to be 303 miles. The equivalent mileage is supposed to be about 134 in city, and 98 on the highway, and 114 combined.
Right.
So it's the digital teal is the color.
Yeah.
Has 19-inch wheels with standard Michelin tires on it.
Okay.
And I'll open the door up here, and
oh yeah, I love these seats. These are my favorite seats.
well, the interior is actually more roomy than it appears from the outside, and we really like the interior very much. We also really like driving it. Electrics are so quiet, so smooth running. I like having match screens there, because most cars, one screen is bigger than the other and shaped differently. So I like when they're both the same. They're both 12.3-inch
right.
Screens. And the SEL doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the Limited.
Right, so it doesn't have, I noticed it doesn't have the glass roof.
No, it doesn't have that. Also, it has heated seats only, and no cooled
seats, which would have been nice in Florida. But you can precondition the cabin, which is a good feature, right? So before you get into the hot car, you can at least bring on the AC, and that way it's the whole car is cooled.
Yes, so that that does help. And
one of the features that I think the SEL did not have that I remember was the overhead camera for parking. Is that something that you wish you had?
Well, yes, because before we had this car, we briefly owned a Tucson non-plug-in hybrid.
Okay.
And that was in the Limited trim, and so we did have that feature along with the cooled seats on the Tucson.
Right.
So yes, we do miss that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, a couple of features that the SEL doesn't have the limited halves was, you know, the center console that could slide back and forth, or the driver's seat that turns into a lazy boy lounge chair. I'll be honest with you, you're not missing much with either of those things. Not a big deal, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Tell me a little bit about how you charge your car here at your home.
Well, I charge at home in my garage with a level 2 Grizzly charger.
Okay.
And to go up to 80%, it takes 6 or 7 hours.
Okay.
And I get 9.5 kilowatts on the level 2.
Right.
I do almost all my charging at home. I use the charging stations only occasionally when going on a...
Well, Kent, you didn't tell me you were a 2 EV family, and you know.
Yes, this is our second EV.
Tell me about this rig. What is this?
Well, it's a club car or a golf cart. We don't golf, but we drive it around the neighborhood and to the town center.
Right.
It uses 6 lead acid batteries.
Okay.
And well, we charge it with a level 1
Just
charger.
a level. Okay, so you have a 120 volt over there.
Yes.
Okay, I see. So that's your charging. This is your charging cable here. And what is this down here? Oh, I guess that's
That's the charger.
That's the charger. Look at the heat. Wow. Wow, that's pretty sophisticated. I love that. And then it comes over and plugs in here. Okay. This looks like a beautiful rig. How fast does it go?
Well, top speed's only 19 miles per hour.
Okay.
Some people have golf carts that'll do more than that, but 19 is fastest.
And now, are you able to? Do you just keep it fully charged all the time?
Yes, we do.
Right.
Whenever we go out and come back, we just plug it back in. And
Right.
We just leave it in the charger all the time.
Right. Tell me about your Grizzly over here, your level 2. This looks like a nice install. I like this.
Yes, I bought this on Amazon, and it's a 40 amp unit.
Okay.
So it takes a 50 amp
You have
breaker.
so you have a 50 amp breaker, and then you installed a NEMA 1450 outlet there.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I do practically all my charging with it.
Right. And now, what is your charging protocol typically? Do you charge after you've gone out every time, or do you let the battery run down and then maybe charge once a week up to a certain percentage? How do you do it?
Well, I normally charge when it gets down to 20 or 30%.
Okay.
And then I'll charge it up to 80%. So I'll charge it maybe once or twice a week, depending on how much driving we do.
Right. And what percentage would you say you're doing AC charging versus being on road trips and going to DC fast chargers like Electrify America?
Well, I would say the home charging AC is probably 99%.
Okay, so folks, what I will say is when and if Kent ever decides to sell this car, this is going to be one that is being properly taken care of. Not only is it being charged AC 99% of the time, but he's not keeping it at 80%. You're doing the exact right thing by letting it run down, and then when you need to, charge it back up to 80, and then let it run down to whether it's 20 or 30%. That is the best way, in my opinion, from everything I've read, to be able to really extend the longevity of the battery pack, which is the great way to do it. Anyway, sorry for the little update, but you are holding out on me, Kent. You're a 2 EV family here. I love it. Why don't we go ahead and jump in the car and go for a drive, and you can tell me a little bit about how you ended up in this car. I'm trying to think. Do you use the frunk for anything?
Yes, I have a few items stored in it. It's small, not very deep. The European versions have a deeper frunk, but
they do on the rear wheel drive. Kent, I noticed in your frunk you got something that looks pretty familiar to me. Did you perhaps watch the video when I lost my 12-volt battery?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did. And so the next day I went out and ordered one of these.
There you go. You got that same one at Costco, I think, right?
I ordered mine on Amazon.
Oh, you did? Okay, on Amazon. Good. Yeah, I wonder how many of those things we've sold as a result of that video. But look, you know, this is like you mentioned earlier, you know, the size of this, because you have the front wheel drive, or actually front wheel drive, the rear wheel drive version. European spec cars, they definitely have a deeper frunk than this. But look, you know, to keep your first aid kit in there and to keep your 12-volt charger, it's perfect. That's all you need. It's good stuff.
Yeah, my $30 first aid kit, which I'll probably never use.
No, of course. But you know, you'd only need it if you didn't have it. You know, that's the way it works in life, right? So. Right. Well, I'll tell you, the rear wheel drives, these are great cars. And I actually almost bought one. It was a cyber gray, and I drove it, and I thought it was fantastic. Unlike the ID4s, where the ID4s, you know, the rear wheel drive, the difference between the rear wheel drive and the all-wheel drive ID4 is a big difference in terms of performance, but this car is sprightly as a rear wheel drive car. And I guess you don't really run into that much snow down here in South Florida, do you?
No, not very much. No, the rear wheel drive is fine with me. I mean, it has enough power for me, for my knees.
Right.
And it, well, plus the rear wheel drive does have more range than,
absolutely.
than all-wheel drive.
Absolutely. No, that's great. All right, well, listen, why don't we go ahead and jump in the car and check this out.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, sounds good. Okay, Kent, well, why don't we go for a little drive here? I appreciate, again, this is great. I see you've got 227 miles of range. You're at a 79% state of charge, 11,336 miles. You use this car.
Yeah.
You drive. Where do you go?
Well, we did make a long trip to St. Louis in October, a 1,200-mile trip.
Wow, okay.
And we did all of our charging at Electrify America.
Good.
And we have the 2-hour, or not the 2-hour, the 2-year free charge.
2-year free charge every 30 minutes, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right, well, why don't we go? And I want to hear about that. How was your... Oh, look at that. See that? Beautiful, right? Rear traffic cross alert. Had we been in a Tesla, that golf cart might have been toast. I mean, you know, look at that.
Well, one time I backed out and the car came zipping down and the car was slammed on the brakes.
Yeah.
And so it...
Yes, it will do that.
Reacted faster than I could.
It will do that. And what's nice about this particular vehicle, because this is the SEL model, is you do have the HDA2, which has the traffic rear or the front traffic cross alert as well. Mm-hmm. In addition to lane changing with the ADAS, which do you use the dynamic cruise and the auto lane keep? Is that something you use when you're on long trips?
I use it all the time.
Oh, good for you.
I even use it in the city.
Oh, wow. That's great. Well, listen, I want to hear more about this car, but I'm also a little bit curious. You told me a story about your license plate, and it's kind of a special license plate that you have. Tell me about that.
Well, the plate on this car has been in my family for 102 years.
Wow.
Since 1920. It was originally on my grandmother's Model T Ford, 1920 Model T Ford. She died 4 years later, so my father just kept the same number. Mm-hmm. There really wasn't anything special about the number. It was just the number that was assigned to my grandmother the first time she registered the car.
Right.
So my father kept that number year after year through 1950. Well, in 1951, he changed to a lower number. And at the time, we only had the one car in the family.
Right.
So in 1955, my parents bought a second car. And so my father asked him at the DMV if there was any possibility of getting that old number back. And it turned out it was not in use, and so he was able to get the number back. And then I acquired it when he died. So, except for that 4-year period, we've had that number since 1920.
I love that. I love that. That is such a special thing. What a nice tribute. That's really smart. And then when did you move to Florida now?
Well, We bought a home here in January of 2020.
Okay.
And the first year we were snowbirds, basically.
Right.
We were going back and forth because we were planning on renting the house out during the months that we weren't here.
Mm-hmm.
We just decided not to do that. And so last year we decided just to move down here permanently. And so we sold our home up north last year.
Now this development you're in, this is Pelican Preserve.
Yeah, Pelican Preserve.
Okay.
It's one of the larger gated communities.
And this is Fort Myers?
Yes, this is part of Fort Myers.
How far away from the airport are you? Like 10 minutes?
Maybe 15.
15 minutes, so very convenient.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, well, we get to the airport, we just go down tree line, and then there's an airport road that takes you right to the airport.
Right. Okay. And how many homes are in this development?
About 2,500 homes.
Oh wow.
And it's a 2-mile drive from our place to the front gate. So
Wow.
It's one of the larger communities.
Right. And I see you've got, how many, is it just one 18-hole golf course here, or is there multiple courses?
I believe it's just a single one.
Okay.
But we're not golfers, so we
Right.
never joined the club.
Right. And these ponds over here, you got to be careful with small dogs, right? Because there are gators out there.
Yes, the ponds are well stocked.
Oh boy.
Gators.
Yeah. Well, look, I guess this is their natural habitat. This is where they live. So, well, that's good. And so your transition to Florida has been a good one, and you're happy.
Yes, we're very happy.
That's
to
great.
Live here.
I think it's that EV golf cart that makes you happy.
Yes. We drive that even though we don't golf.
I see everybody's driving around golf carts
yeah,
here.
really, just about
great.
everybody has a golf cart.
Yeah,
here.
that's great. Yeah. So now tell me, when you were a kid, where did you grow up? What town did you live in?
Well, I grew up in Decatur, Illinois. It was a smaller city in central Illinois.
Right.
And I was there, well, let's see, until 1995.
Okay.
So I spent the first 47 years of my life in Decatur.
Uh-huh.
But I got married in 1990 for the first time. Our first marriage for both of us.
Okay.
So we lived in my parents' home for 5 years.
Right.
That I inherited, when they both died.
I see.
And so Susan worked at the Clinton nuclear power plant.
Oh wow.
This was in Clinton, a small town just 20 miles north of
Okay.
Decatur.
So there's different types of energy in the family. I see this. I see something going on here, which maybe piqued your interest. What was your first car when you were a kid?
Well, my first car, I had just gotten out of college. It was a 1968 Plymouth Fury 3 two-door hardtop.
Okay.
It was my mother's car, and I bought it from her in 1971.
Oh wow.
She gave me a really good deal on it.
There you go. That's nice.
Yeah.
You knew, and you knew the history of it too,
Yes,
right?
And I only paid $1,000.
Oh, that's a good deal.
But, well, the hardtops were very popular at the time because no B-pillar, or they called them center posts back then.
Right.
And so you could roll down all the windows, and it gave the car a sleek look. Having all the windows down.
Yeah.
But I drove that car for let's see, until 1977. Then I traded in on a 77 Buick Electra.
Okay.
And that was a really nice car.
Yeah.
because Electras were basically one step down from a Cadillac.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Okay. And then, so what got you thinking about the fact that you're in an electric car today, which is, again, awesome, commendable, proud of you for doing it. But when did you start thinking that an electric car might be something you'd be interested in?
Well, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, the hybrids and the electrics were becoming more common.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I thought, well, maybe I'd like to buy a car that's not a combustion
Right,
engine
right.
car. And so we were driving an old Honda Pilot.
Okay.
We still have it. It has 216,000 miles.
Wow.
So
That was the white one parked out front?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, all right, good, yeah.
so when we sold our house, moved down here, so we decided it's time to buy a new car.
Right.
And so we were both interested in EVs, and we briefly considered a Tesla,
Uh-huh.
but we ended up buying a Tesla because they got so expensive with multiple price increases
Yes,
every year.
right.
And so we thought the next best choice would be the IONIQ 5.
Right. Okay.
So
And what other vehicles did you consider in your purchase? Did you drive any others, or was it, hey, I love that IONIQ 5, that's the piece for me?
Well, the IONIQ 5 was really the only one we actually drove.
Okay.
Because we've never driven a Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we bought the IONIQ 5 last April. We took delivery of it. It took about 6 weeks to receive the car.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we actually bought the car, it was still in South Korea.
Oh,
So
wow.
we had to wait for it to be shipped over here.
Right, right. And just this past April, these things were in high demand. I mean, what did you find the market was tough to find one, or is it just like, what was the market like when you went to buy this thing?
It was tough to find one in any of the trim levels.
Right.
Because we wanted the limited, and we couldn't find a limited anywhere, so we settled on the SEL.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And how has an electric vehicle fit into your lifestyle? I know that you mentioned you took a long trip, but we just checked out your Grizzly Level 2. So for day-to-day driving, how has it worked out for you?
It's worked out great because I use the Grizzly, plug in once or twice a week, and just plug it in and it starts. No apps that you have to use.
Right, right. So you don't have to go to the gas station anymore?
No. Now, the only time we go to the gas station is when we fill up our old Pilot.
Right, right.
We do that about once every 2 months. We don't drive it much.
Right, right. And the cost of electricity down here in Florida, do you know what it is? I'm just curious.
Yes. Down here, it's between 10 and 12 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
You get the first, I believe it's the first 1,000 kilowatt hours at 10, and then anything over that, it goes up to 12 cents.
I see. And do you have different rates at different times of the day, like a two-tiered rating system here?
No, unfortunately we don't, and I'm not sure if they even offer it here, but
Right.
But it's the same rate.
Same rate,
day or night.
but 10 or 12 cents a kilowatt hour, if that includes the delivery as well, not just the electricity charge.
Yes.
Well, that's cheap. I mean, that's ridiculously cheap. That's very good. I know in the state of Connecticut, I thought I was paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And then, I was like, oh, look at me, I'm saving all this money. And then a number of people, they reminded me that my bill from the local, electricity company, utility company, that only was the actual power. Then I had a delivery charge. So it ended up being more like double that amount. So like 22 cents or something like that a kilowatt hour. But you know, look, it's still relatively inexpensive compared to you know, compared to some of the one thing I do want to say though is I give you a lot of credit for, even though you got 2 years of free Electrify America, the fact that you put in a level 2 at your house, I want to commend you for that, because a lot of people don't do that. And the problem with that is that, well, they have free charging, right? So they're allowed to go to Electrify America. And you know, to me, I think that this is just my own personal opinion. You have every right to be able to go there if it's included in your plan and what you've paid for. But you know, like, to me, I only use the DC fast charging when I'm on trips, or if I am away and I don't have, like, for example, at our condo down here in Marco Island, I don't have charging there. So I rely on going to a Tesla supercharger or using my Combo 1 adapter. But the fact that you actually put in the level 2 at your house is commendable. So I appreciate, we appreciate as a community, more and more people should do that. Now, not everyone has the ability to do that with their living conditions, or if they're in an apartment complex and they can't do that. So the fact that they need to rely on the public infrastructure that comes with the car, there's nothing wrong with that. But tell me about your trip when you went all the way back to St. Louis. How was charging on Electrify America? How did that go for you?
Well, actually, it went well. Much better than the EA station in Naples.
So you know about the EA station in Naples?
Yes, I've been there several times. And
what's your experience been there?
Well, every time we've been at that station, we had to restart the session 2 or 3 times. It would start, and then it would shut down.
Right.
And plus, there were people waiting in line every time we went there.
Yeah.
The parking spaces are angled, which I find difficult to back into.
Right.
And then there are cars driving by when you're trying to park the car.
Yeah.
So we don't care for that station at all. But the EA stations on the trip really weren't that bad.
Okay.
We started out with 100% charge from home.
Right.
Our first stop was in Bushnell, Florida.
Okay.
It was 180 miles north of here.
Right.
And so I set it to charge up to 90%. Well, for some reason, it shut off at 80%. So I restarted it, went up to 82%, and it shut down again.
Huh.
And then it went up to 85%. And it shut down a second time.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
So I just gave up and left it at 85%. There were 2 other stations where the app wasn't working. And
when you say the app, you mean the app on your phone?
yeah, the app on the phone.
Really?
They'll start the charging.
Okay, because this particular car does not have plug and charge, so
No.
you have to start the charging session by using the app.
By using the app.
Right.
Unless you want to swipe a credit card.
Unless you want to swipe a credit card, right?
But we don't get the free charging if I use a credit card.
I see, right. Makes sense.
So Susan, well, the first time Susan called customer service, and they told her, well, to log out of the app and log back in.
Right.
And they said it should work. And so she did that. She logged out of her account and then logged back in. And then the thing started charging.
Okay.
And it happened one other time on the trip, and we did the same thing, and then it worked.
Huh.
So those are the only times that we really had any problems.
That's interesting. So no charging with the infrastructure and the units, but the app gave you a problem.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? Okay. And the speeds, do you remember what kilowatts, like the max you saw from when you were pulling?
Well, on the 350, the maximum was 235.
Wow, there you go. Okay.
But that was one time only.
Right.
It was usually below 200.
Okay.
Maybe 170 to 190 before it started tapering off.
Right. Yeah. So the when it all depends on what state of charge you pull into, and what the temperature of the battery pack is. But yeah, I've seen the max I've ever seen on the AGMP platform cars is 241. So 235 that's right up there. And it's amazing how great these cars charge. Not only do they charge fast, but they hold it relatively deep into the pack. So when you're hitting 50-60%, you're still pulling, way north of 125. I can't remember the exact charging curves, but I'm very pleased, and it's fun. Listen, I got to tell you, Ken, thank you. I'm so happy being back in an IONIQ 5. A lot of people say, Dave, why did you sell the IONIQ 5? And what it came down to was my wife just fell in love with the GV60, and I said, there's no way I'm going to have two CCS cars. I want to have one Tesla and one CCS. Why? Because I want to play both sides. I want to understand the charging stories for both of the networks, and it's been a good experience for me having the Tesla. It's been super reliable. It's like I've mentioned on some of my other videos, Ken, it's just downright boring. It just works every time for the most part. But I also was really interested in playing around with the fact that I can go and charge at CCS stations as well with the combo adapter. So I kind of have the best of both worlds. And this Model S that I have has tremendous range, which makes road tripping so much less interesting. It's great.
Is it the long range model?
Yeah, it's a long range. So EPA rated range is around 405 miles on my car. However, I was getting, I think on the way down, I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I think I averaged around 345 miles, per kilowatt hour, and that equates out to somewhere around maybe a 290. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it was cold, and B, it was I was going pretty fast, so burning, not getting in the mid 300s on each charging, between each charging. But I only charged 6 times coming down all the way, 1,350 miles.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, so that wasn't bad. So what advice do you have for others that are perhaps in your situation? You're retired now, you've worked your tail off your whole career, and you could have any car you want, and you went out and you bought an electric vehicle. And I know you say you're happy, but what advice do you have for others that are thinking about doing the same thing?
Well, I think my advice would be to take into consideration there could be problems charging on road trips.
Right.
I think that's the biggest concern of anybody buying an EV. Charging at home is no problem. You just plug it in
right,
and it starts charging. It can, some people do have range anxiety, where they're not sure if they're going to make it to the next charging station or if the station's going to be working. And I tend to fall into that category myself.
Yeah.
So I start to get a little nervous when I get below 100 miles.
Okay, right.
But I know some people run it down to 0.
So I've known people who are known to do that. Yes,
and look for a nice.
I knew you were going to say that. I deserve that. It's funny. I'll tell you what. When I go back up north, I'm going to stop off at that convenience store and just say hi to my ice machine friend. Look at this guy. He's rolling coal on us in the EV. Like no consideation there, my friend.
We're putting out zero emissions.
We're putting out zero emissions, and you're hitting there and juicing us with some black smoke.
Well, I mean that was nice of you to offer the owner pay.
Well, yeah, a lot of people
pay for the 75 cents a juice.
A lot of people they didn't realize, and I appreciate you bringing that up. They didn't realize that I had spoken to the owner. I had tried to call them to ask permission. I didn't put that on camera. But at the same time, when the woman showed up, she was more concerned. Are you okay? Right? And I said, well, listen, I hope you don't mind, but I was taking some energy from, the ice machine's plug, because I was about to run out of, energy, right, in my car. She goes, oh my goodness, that's okay. Then I offered to give her some money. She's like, don't worry about it, it's fine. So I think she was more interested in my car and the fact that I was, using energy from a wall socket than I think I only took, I think, maybe 6 kilowatt hours at, whatever that was, 75 cents.
Well, that probably took a long time.
Oh my goodness, I was there. I arrived at something like 4 in the morning. I can't remember. And, you want to get off here and flip it around. So, yeah, I mean, I arrived, it was super dark and kind of spooky a little bit. It was right near where Darlington Raceway is, if you're into NASCAR, if anyone is into NASCAR. Just off, I just took a wrong turn, and I was all set. EA was all ready for me, and you went on one of those roads you just can't turn around, and it was a 6 miles until the next exit, and I knew I was in trouble. So look, I got burned by my own pushing it. Yeah, but I've done that my whole life, pushing it with gas, even gas cars. My wife always gets mad at me for that. So, yeah, well, listen, this is great. Now, if you were to buy any other electric vehicle other than the IONIQ 5, which vehicles kind of have your interest? What do you like on the market that you see?
Well, probably Tesla Model Y.
Tesla Model Y, okay. They're a great car. Well, they're offering $7,500 off between now and the end of the year. So if you want to trade in, we can drive right over right now. We'll go get one. I think that'd be a fun video. Here we are making your EV journey video, and then IONIQ 5. And next thing you know, Kent's driving home in a Model Y. Hey, Susan, guess what, Susan? We got a new car. I've been known to do that with people in the past. So, but yeah, the Model Y is great. Really a great vehicle. You should go drive one just to see. I personally think this car rides a bit smoother. I think this car is, in a lot of ways, a little bit more refined than the Model Y. The Model Y is a little twitchy in the steering, but you can't argue with it. It's a fantastic car, and they're great. We just rented one, actually. I rented one from Hertz recently, and it was good to be back in the Model Y. And I'll have a video coming out, Kent, that maybe you'll check out, where Kathy was driving her GV60 and then driving the Model Y. She used to have a Model Y, and she was comparing the cars. And I said, honey, you want to get a Model Y? You can trade in your GV60. I won't tell you what her comments were, but that's a fun video. As a matter of fact, when we were driving to go pick up the Model Y from Hertz, Tesla called us up and said, hey, listen, at the time they were offering $3,750 off the price of a Model Y. They upped it to $7,500. But I said, honey, listen, what are the odds of that happening as we're going to test drive a Model Y? So she actually looked at it very objectively, and you'll watch the video what she decided to do. But yeah, listen, the Model Ys, they're great. They're great vehicles. They really are. And if you've never driven a Tesla, I would highly recommend you go check one out. How has the app been? Do you use the app for preconditioning at all in your car if it's left out in the warm weather?
I don't think the 2022s have battery preconditioning.
Not battery preconditioning, cabin preconditioning.
Oh, cabin preconditioning.
Yeah, cabin. So like, in other words, if your car is sitting out of your garage and is sitting in the driveway and it's 100 degrees out in the summer, and you and Susan want to go to the store or go to a restaurant or whatever, do you use the function to precondition the cabin or just to cool it down?
Actually, we've never tried that.
Oh, you should do that. That's one of the greatest features of, there's also a function where if you're just going into a store for, 10 or 15 minutes, and these cars heat up super fast, in the parking lots,
yeah,
you can put the car in utility mode and keep the AC on, which runs off not the 12-volt battery, but runs off the big battery. And so when you come back to your car, the car will be nice and cool for you. So, if I lived in Florida, I would recommend getting to know that functionality on your app. I'll show you perhaps before I leave, but it's super easy to use, and it works. It's very reliable, I found, compared to what I used to have problems with my ID4 with the preconditioning the cabin. It didn't work as consistently as it does on the on this vehicle. So yeah, I mean, feel the ride in this car. It's so smooth.
Yes, very smooth. The electric motors are just so quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing you do get, tell me a little bit about your regen and how you use regen. What settings do you play around with the paddles at all, or do you
well, I've been using level 3 regen.
Level 3 regen.
Yes.
Okay.
And I haven't tried any of the others. And I have not tried the iPedal.
Oh, I love iPedal. For around town driving, nothing better than one pedal driving. You should try that. So, you know, if you have two paddles, if you grab left, then that will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, and then iPedal. And then if you grab right, it'll go 3, 2, 1. And if you hold the right one, there's another mode called auto, which you know, I don't particularly love the auto function for regen, but it's pretty good. And then you know that when you're coming to a stop, if you want, you can actually use the regen, just grab the left paddle and hold it in, and it will actually start to slow the vehicle down, as opposed to using your brakes. If you're not in iPedal mode, or even if you are, you can hold that left paddle in and use that to actually reduce the speed of the car a little bit. But I love the paddles, and you know, I would find that I use it quite a bit in the GV60. It has the same setup in the GV60. But well, listen, what other things can you tell our audience about your experience with electric vehicles? Anything that you want to sum up or summarize?
Well, the cars work very well. We haven't had any issues with it. We've had it in twice for servicing, but all they did was rotate the tires.
Right.
Well, we did have an experience. The first time we took it in for service, we took it to a dealer up in Punta Gorda.
Okay.
And we got up there, and it turned out that particular dealer is not authorized to service EV.
Oh.
And what was really strange is we told him that when we were driving an IONIQ 5, we get up there, and then the guy comes out with his iPad and tells us, well, we don't need an oil change yet.
Oh, that's beautiful, right? You know, like the dealer really adding value there. Thanks for letting me know.
So we went to another different dealer for the service.
Yeah, but I mean, they wouldn't service the vehicle for rotating the tires because this was an EV?
Well, we'll know, because they said they really couldn't do anything.
Oh, gee. Hyundai, come on.
You know, even rotating the tires.
That's ridiculous. That's just plain ridiculous. You know, so now you bought the car in Fort Myers, though, is that
Yes,
right?
uh-huh.
So why didn't you take it there for service?
Well, the only reason we didn't go there the first time is it would have been a 2-week wait.
So you had to wait a while.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And so that's why we went to the one in Punta Gorda.
Right.
And so we ended up taking it to the dealer in Naples, and then the second time we went back to
I see.
Fort
I
Myers.
see. You know, it's crazy. These dealers, they got to get their act together as far as, like, that's just ridiculous that they wouldn't rotate your tires because it's an EV. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous.
Well, for some reason they weren't authorized.
That's a bunch of garbage. That like, I'm not authorized to change tires. You know what? Okay. Yeah, I'm not authorized to put windshield wiper fluid in your car because it's an electric vehicle, right? You know, like I understand if there's something about the electric vehicle system or if there's something like that, but to say to you, sorry, we can't rotate your tires because it's an EV, you know, that's a problem. That's a real problem with dealers. And I would say, I don't know, I've never heard of that happening, but I don't know, comment below if you've had experiences like that with Hyundai dealers. I know in the state of Connecticut, there's only two Genesis dealers that are authorized to sell the Genesis vehicles. So, you know, they're limited in terms of which states they can sell them. When Hyundai first brought out the IONIQ 5, I don't think they were selling them in Florida originally, were they? Maybe they were. Maybe they were.
Not initially, but it wasn't long.
It wasn't long after, right? So it was in the second wave of dealers.
Yeah. I can't get a GV60 here in Florida because last I heard, only 4 states are selling them.
Yeah, I think they've upped it now, maybe to 6 or 8 states that are selling them. Listen, the GV60, it's very similar to this. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit nicer materials inside. It just depends on what you want, but you know, it's basically the same car, same as the EV6. You know, I will say the South Koreans are putting out some good cars right now. I'm very proud of that. So, well, listen, Kent, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I like everything you're doing. I'm very proud of you for taking the leap over. You know, the trip all the way back to St. Louis and back. Listen, you know, that's not for the average. You know, especially you with a little bit of range anxiety. You know, but the fact that you did it, I think others should follow your lead. Be aware, I would say, of if you don't have that spirit of sort of a little bit of adventure, right, for road tripping, then I would be careful at this point in time because of the state of play with the CCS network. I'd be very careful about buying a CCS car if you're going to be predominantly road tripping that. However, as you mentioned, if you're a 2-car family and you can have one car with level 2 charging at the home, that's an EV, and the other is a gas car that you can take on road trips, there is no reason why you can't make that plunge now.
I agree with that.
And so, you know, you don't have to go all in. Like you've gone all in on. You got 2 EVs in your family. One being. I mean, it has 4 wheels. It's electric, right? You know, I get it. I love it. But listen, I would say that Kent is doing the right thing here in Southwest Florida in Fort Myers. And thanks again, everyone, for watching another episode of Out of Spec Dave. If you have any questions, please comment below, and we'll get those questions answered by Kent. But you and Susan, best of luck to you with your IONIQ 5. And you know, I want you to email me when you actually when you sell the Pilot and you get your Porsche Taycan or your Lucid Air, right? You know, then I want to come down and revisit you.
Well, you'll be the first to know.
All right, good. That's a fair deal. All right, everyone, take care. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care now. Bye-bye.